The galaxy was burning. Stars that once shone with peace now flickered red and dying. War had broken out between the humans and the Virellan Empire, a race of elegant but ruthless beings who believed that emotion was weakness. In that chaos, a lone human ship drifted near the shattered moon of Elyssera 9, its hull torn and engines weak. Inside the command deck stood Captain Arik Vale, a young officer with scars of too many battles and eyes that carried more exhaustion than hope. Arik had lost half his crew. The war was over for him, or at least it should have been, but then a faint signal appeared on his radar. It was a distress call, weak and pulsing from the surface of a destroyed alien cruiser. The code was old, almost forgotten. His officers told him to ignore it. The humans were retreating. The last fleet was regrouping far away. No one would come for him if he was caught. But something about that signal made Arik pause. It was soft, almost like a heartbeat. He stared at the holographic display, saw the faint flicker of an escape pod lodged between broken metal and fire. "Captain," his lieutenant said quietly. "It's Virellan Tech. Enemy ship could be a trap." Arik nodded slowly. "I know," he said, his voice steady. "Prepare the landing craft." The crew stared in disbelief. No one volunteered, but no one stopped him either. Arik was the kind of man who never ordered others to take a risk he wouldn't take himself. Minutes later, his small shuttle broke through the planet's dusty sky. The wreck of the alien cruiser lay in pieces, glowing with dying embers. Smoke and debris floated everywhere. Arik's boots crunched against twisted metal as he moved through the broken halls, his flashlight cutting through the shadows. The ship was silent, except for the slow drip of coolant and the distant hiss of fire. Then he saw it. A stasis pod. Half buried under wreckage, inside was a girl. Pale blue skin, silver hair, eyes closed in deep sleep. Her armor was ceremonial, covered in strange symbols. Arik approached carefully, wiping dust from the glass. The pod's display flickered in alien letters. Warning of critical failure, he hesitated, then whispered to himself, "She's alive." He tried to open the pod manually. A sudden spark of electricity shocked his glove. But he didn't pull away. He tore a wire loose, connected a power cell from his suit, and the pod hissed open with a burst of cold mist. The girl gasped for breath, coughing weakly, her body trembling. Arik knelt beside her, removing his helmet. "It's all right," he said softly. "You're safe now." She didn't understand his words. Her lips moved in her language, soft, melodic, strange. Her eyes blinked open, glowing faintly with silver light. For a moment she looked afraid, but then she saw his uniform, torn and dirty, and the look in his eyes, kind, not cruel. She reached out a shaking hand and touched his face. Whispering something that sounded like a prayer, Arik gently lifted her into his arms. She was light, fragile, like a dream made of glass. Suddenly his radio crackled. "Captain, enemy fighters incoming, 2 minutes!" He cursed under his breath, running through the wreck. Carrying her close outside, the storm of dust and fire made it hard to see. He jumped onto the ramp of his shuttle just as laser fire struck the ground behind him. "Take off!" he shouted. The engines roared, the shuttle blasted upward into the sky, flames chasing its tail from the cockpit. Arik could see enemy ships forming behind them. "Evasive pattern 3, he ordered, gripping the console. The pilot obeyed. Weaving through the burning atmosphere, a plasma bolt struck their left wing. Alarm screamed, the shuttle began to spin. The girl stirred in his arms, frightened, her voice trembling as she said something he didn't understand. He looked down at her, meeting her eyes. "Hold on. We're going to make it." The human fleet was gone. No one would save them now, but Arik didn't stop. He pushed the throttle harder, guiding the shuttle toward the debris field near the moon. Enemy fire missed by inches. The girl suddenly lifted her hand, her eyes glowing brighter. A wave of light burst from her palm, rippling through space. The enemy ships froze, systems dead, weapons silent, as if time itself paused. Arik's eyes widened, but he didn't question it. He used the moment to break free into the darkness beyond the moon. When the shuttle finally reached safety, silence filled the cabin. The girl had fallen unconscious again. Her head resting against his arm, Arik stared at her. Trying to make sense of what just happened, he touched the insignia on her armor. Realizing the truth, she wasn't just anyone. She was Virellan royalty, a princess of the very empire that tried to destroy humanity. He sat back, breathing hard. He had just saved the enemy's most important daughter, the one person whose life could start another war, or end it. As the stars stretched into lines and the ship jumped to faster than light speed, the girl's lips moved slightly, whispering a few soft words before she fell into sleep again. Arik couldn't understand them, but he would never forget their sound, because they carried both gratitude and a promise, and somewhere in those alien syllables he heard something that made his heart stop. "When the stars turn red," she whispered, "I will return for you." The ship vanished into deep space, leaving behind only smoke, silence, and the first spark of a story that would change the galaxy forever. 10 years had passed since that day on Elysium 9. 10 long years since Captain Arik Vale had vanished into the dark. The war between the humans and the Virellan Empire had ended, not with peace, but with silence. Both sides were broken, exhausted, too afraid to start again. The galaxy moved on, pretending to forget. But men like Arik were not so easily forgotten. On a cold mining world at the edge of nowhere, a lonely figure worked beneath the stars. His uniform was gone, his rank erased, and his name lost to time. Now he was just Arik Vale, a miner among hundreds, his hands covered in dust and oil. Every day he drilled into the frozen ground for minerals that no one cared about. Every night he sat alone, staring at the sky. He never told anyone about the girl with silver eyes. Sometimes when the wind howled across the plains, he could still hear her whisper, "When the stars turn red, I will return for you." The world he lived on was called Haven's Edge, a forgotten colony with no government and no future. The people there were survivors, refugees from the war, trying to rebuild their lives. They didn't care about heroes or legends, they cared about food, warmth, and staying alive another day. Arik fit right in, because he no longer believed in heroes either. But that night everything changed. The miners were gathered in the main outpost, listening to old music and laughing weakly. Then the lights flickered once, twice, and went dark. The air outside trembled and someone shouted, "Meteor shower!" Arik stepped outside, squinting up at the sky. The stars were not falling, they were bleeding, a red glow spread across the heavens. Turning night into fire, the ground shook. Alarms blared. Communication lines went dead. Then from the red storm above, a massive ship appeared. Its surface shimmered like silver glass, covered in strange glowing patterns. The miners panicked, running for cover, shouting about invasion. But Arik stood frozen, his breath catching in his throat. Because the shape of that ship was familiar, impossibly familiar. The ship descended slowly, creating a whirlwind of dust and light. When the landing ramp opened, figures in shining armor stepped out. Tall, graceful, and unmistakably Virellan, the miners pointed weapons, afraid. But before anyone could shoot, one of the armored figures raised her hand. The red glow in the sky dimmed as if obeying her, and then she stepped forward, tall, confident, her long silver hair moving like light. Arik felt his heart stop. It was her, the girl from the stasis pod, the one he had saved 10 years ago. But she was no longer a frightened child. She was a woman now, with eyes that held both power and sorrow. Her armor was marked with royal insignia, symbols of command and destiny. She looked around the colony, then her gaze locked on him. Even through the dust and distance, she recognized him instantly. She walked toward him slowly, her guard staying behind. The crowd whispered in fear, backing away. Arik couldn't move, his mind racing when she stopped before him. The silence was total, then she spoke, her voice calm but heavy with meaning. "Human," she said. "The galaxy is about to burn again." Arik stared at her, his voice barely a whisper. "You remembered?" She tilted her head, her silver eyes glowing faintly. "I do not forget those who change destiny," she said. "Especially not the one who saved mine." The miners looked at each other in confusion. They had no idea what was happening, but Arik knew, deep down, that the world was shifting again. This was no simple visit, no accident. The promise she made was real, and she had come back to fulfill it. "Why are you here?" he asked carefully, her eyes darkened. "Because I need you," she said. "The balance of the galaxy is falling apart, and only a human can stop what's coming." He frowned, shaking his head. "I'm no soldier anymore." "You are," she said softly. "You always were," before he could answer. Her ship's alarms echoed in the distance. A hologram appeared beside her, showing hundreds of red markers spreading across nearby star systems. "Rebel fleets," she said. "My own people. They seek to destroy humanity completely." Arik clenched his fists, his jaw tightening. "Then why help us?" he asked. She looked at him, her face unreadable. Because, she said, they have forgotten what mercy means and only humanity can remind them. The miners around them listened in silence for the first time in years. They saw something like hope or fear in their tired eyes. The princess stepped closer to Arik. You once saved my life, she said. Now I must save your kind. She extended her hand. Will you come with me, Captain Arik Vale of Earth? The title hit him like a wave of memories. He had buried that name long ago. He looked at her hand, then at the ship behind her. He knew that if he stepped aboard, there would be no turning back, but deep down, he also knew that the fire inside him had never truly gone out. And when he finally reached out and took her hand, the crowd gasped as light surrounded them both. The sky thundered again and her words echoed in his mind. When the stars turn red, I will return for you, and now she had. And the forgotten hero of a silent war was about to rise once more. The silver ship rose into the clouds, leaving the dusty colony of Haven's Edge far behind. Inside, Captain Arik Vale sat quietly beside the window, watching the stars stretch across the dark horizon. It had been 10 years since he'd last seen the stars from a warship's view. Now they felt both familiar and foreign. He glanced at the reflection beside him, the princess sitting calmly, her silver eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. For a long time, neither of them spoke. Finally, Arik broke the silence. You said the galaxy is burning again, he said softly. What did you mean? The princess turned her head slowly, her voice steady. My name is Serenia of the Virellan Empire, she said. And the fire I speak of is not war alone, it is corruption, greed, and fear. She touched the holographic display in front of her, and the air filled with shifting stars, glowing red dots spreading like blood through the map. These are rebel fleets, she said, Virellans who believe humans should never have left their homeworld. They call themselves the Purity Dominion. Arik studied the map, his face hard. So, they're planning to finish what your empire started, he said quietly. Serenia looked down, guilt flickering in her eyes. My father tried to stop them before he died, she said. But now the council has been taken over by zealots. They will soon strike every human colony at once. Arik leaned back, his thoughts heavy. I'm not a soldier anymore, he said. I can't fight your war. Serenia turned toward him, her tone soft but firm. This is not my war anymore. Captain Vale, it's ours. He looked up, surprised by the word ours. You once risked your life to save me, she continued. You didn't know who I was. You didn't care that I was your enemy. You saw a person in need and you acted, she paused, her eyes meeting his. That act changed me. It changed everything. Arik stayed silent, remembering that night, the smoke, the fire, the sound of her voice whispering those strange words. When the stars turn red, I will return for you. He had thought it was just a dream, but now here she was, real and alive, standing before him again, and the stars outside were indeed red. Serenia rose from her seat and walked toward the center of the room. Arik Vale, she said, I did not come only to warn you. I came to ask for your help. He frowned. Help? You command an empire. I'm just a man who digs rocks. She smiled slightly. You are much more than that. The Virellan Council fears your name. You are the human who defied an entire fleet to save an enemy princess. Your name became a symbol, even if you never knew it. Arik looked away, his voice low. That symbol cost me everything. Serenia stepped closer. And now it can save billions. He turned to face her, his jaw tight. Why me? Because you are what they are not, she said. You feel, you hope, you forgive? Her voice softened. The galaxy has forgotten what that means. The ship's doors opened as they entered a massive hangar. Arik's eyes widened as he saw what waited inside. Rows of ships, sleek black human Virellan hybrid designs, engines that glowed blue like captured lightning. Thousands of soldiers trained below, humans and Virellans working side by side. He looked at Serenia in disbelief. You built all this? She nodded. In secret, for years I have gathered those who still believe peace is worth fighting for. She turned toward him. But they need a leader, someone both human and alien forces can follow. Arik shook his head. I'm no leader anymore. Serenia smiled gently. You once were, and you still are. She took a small metal insignia from her belt and placed it in his hand. It was the same symbol that once rested on his old uniform. Captain Arik Vale of Earth Command, she said softly. I'm giving it back to you. For a moment he said nothing. just stared at the insignia glinting under the lights. Old memories returned. His ship, his crew, the faces of those he had lost. He closed his hand around it, feeling its weight. The past he had tried so hard to bury was rising again. "I don't even know if I can do this," he said quietly. Serenia looked at him with calm certainty. "You don't have to believe in yourself yet," she said. "Just believe in what's right." Suddenly, the hangar alarms flared red. An officer ran up, shouting in the Virellan tongue. Serenia turned to Arik, her expression sharp. "They found us," she said. "The Dominion knows I brought you here." Arik's instincts kicked in. "Evacuate the fleet," he ordered without thinking. The officers obeyed immediately, recognizing the authority in his voice. Serenia gave a faint smile. "See? You never lost it." Explosions shook the walls, metal groaning as enemy fire struck the outer hull. Arik ran to the control deck. His heart pounding, he grabbed the headset. Barking orders in perfect rhythm, human pilots launched fighters. Virellan ships formed defense lines. For the first time in years, Arik felt alive again. The rhythm of command returned to him like breathing. Serenia stood beside him, calm amidst the chaos when a blast hit nearby. She caught the rail and shouted, "This is only the beginning." "Captain Vale?" Arik nodded, his eyes burning with focus. "Then let's begin properly," he said. The fleet engines roared to life. Lifting into the starlit void, the battle had begun, and the forgotten oath was remembered at last. The stars burned bright as the hybrid fleet emerged from hyperspace. Human and Virellan ships moved together, side by side, in perfect formation. It was something the galaxy had never seen before. Enemies turned allies, fighting for survival. United under one cause, Captain Arik Vale stood on the command bridge of the flagship Sol Vanguard. The human steel of its hull merged with the elegant curves of Virellan design. It felt strange and yet familiar, a bridge between two worlds. Behind him, Princess Serenia watched silently, her expression calm but filled with fire. The echoes of the last battle still haunted them. But they had survived, and now they were ready to strike back. Arik's voice carried through the ship's comms. "Crew of the Vanguard," he said, "we stand today not as humans or Virellans, but as one. The Dominion thinks we are broken. They think fear will make us kneel. But they are wrong. The stars will remember this day." His words were simple, but they carried weight, even through static. Soldiers across the fleet straightened with pride. Serenia stepped forward, her armor glinting under the bridge lights. "You lead them well," she said softly. Arik glanced at her with a faint smile. "I lead them because you gave them hope." Serenia nodded slowly. "Hope is fragile, Captain, but it is the strongest weapon we have." For weeks, they traveled across forgotten systems. They rescued colonies abandoned by both sides. They rebuilt stations, repaired ships, and gave food to the hungry. With every act, more worlds joined them, humans who had lost faith, and Virellans who had lost purpose. Together, they formed what people began to call the Forgotten Alliance. But peace never lasted long. One night, deep within the ship's war room, a distress signal broke through the silence. It came from Virella Prime, Serenia's homeworld. Her eyes widened as she saw the symbol of her father's palace burning on the hologram. "The Dominion has begun their cleansing," she whispered. Arik's fists tightened. "Then we end this now." They plotted a course toward the planet. But before they could leave, something unexpected happened. A coded message arrived, not from the Dominion, but from a human outpost. The signal carried a familiar voice, Commander Virellan. "Arik's old friend, Arik, if you're out there," the message said. "Don't trust her, she's using you." "They all are." Static cut the transmission short. Arik stood frozen. He hadn't heard that voice in a decade. Virellan was like a brother to him once. Serenia turned to him, her voice careful. "What's wrong?" He hesitated. "Someone from my past," he said. "Someone I used to trust." "Do you believe him?" she asked. Arik looked at her for a long time. "I don't know yet." As they neared Virella Prime, their scanners lit up with hundreds of enemy ships. The Dominion was waiting. They had been betrayed. The fleet moved into formation, but the numbers were overwhelming. Explosions filled the void, shaking the ship violently. Arik's voice echoed through the bridge. "All hands, brace for impact, return fire." The battle was chaos. Human pilots weaved between enemy fire. Virellan gunners unleashed blinding plasma storms. Serenia moved beside Arik, issuing commands in her native tongue. Every second, another ship fell. The Alliance was holding, but barely. Suddenly, a massive explosion tore through the side deck. Serenia stumbled, clutching the rail. Arik rushed to her. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head, but her hands were trembling. In that moment, the lights dimmed and the ship's AI spoke. "Critical breach detected. Neural core compromised." Arik frowned. "Neural core?" Serenia's eyes widened in fear. "No," she whispered. "They're targeting me." Arik didn't understand. But she reached out, grabbing his arm. "Listen to me," she said. "The Dominion doesn't just want to kill me. They want what's inside me." She took a deep breath. "Half of my Empire's network is tied to my mind. If I die, the system collapses. Millions of lives could be lost." Arik stared at her, stunned. "You're connected to the Empire's neural grid?" She nodded. "My father created it to protect the people, but they turned it into a weapon." Outside, another blast rocked the ship. The alarms blared. Sparks flew across the bridge. Serenia steadied herself and looked at Arik with determination. "You once saved my life," she said. "Now it's my turn to save yours." Before he could respond, she pressed a command on her wrist console. A blinding field of light surrounded the bridge, absorbing the next explosion entirely. Arik shielded his eyes. "What did you do?" Serenia smiled faintly. "Gave you time." Her voice trembled. "The shield won't last long. You must take the fleet and escape." "I'm not leaving you," Arik said firmly. "You must," she said, her eyes softening. "If I die, they win. If I live, there's still hope." For a moment, they just stared at each other, the chaos of war fading around them. Finally, Arik nodded. "You better survive this." "Princess," she gave a faint smile. "That's an order." "Captain," Arik turned to the comms, his voice steady. "All ships, pull back to fallback coordinates. Protect the flagship." The fleet obeyed, forming a barrier around the damaged ship. Through the flames and wreckage, the Sol Vanguard broke free from the Dominion's trap. Behind them, Virella Prime burned, but hope did not. Serenia collapsed, her energy spent, her body glowing faintly from the neural surge. Arik caught her before she fell. Her breathing was weak. "But she was alive," he whispered. "You're safe now." Her eyes fluttered open, and she smiled faintly. "Not yet," she whispered. But soon, the fleet disappeared into hyperspace, carrying with it the last light of defiance. And as they vanished among the stars, the galaxy began to whisper again. The princess and the human ghost still live. The forgotten alliance rises. The stars outside the window shimmered like frozen fire. The fleet drifted silently through the dark, engines dimmed to hide from enemy scanners. Every ship carried scars from the last battle. Hulls cracked, engines patched, crews exhausted, but they were alive. And for now, that was enough. Captain Arik Vale stood on the bridge, staring at the holographic map before him. Hundreds of systems glowed red, the Dominion's influence spreading faster each day. Behind him, medics worked quietly around Princess Serenia, who still lay weak from the neural backlash. Her skin glowed faintly with silver light. Her breathing shallow but steady. Arik refused to leave her side. Even when his officers insisted he rest, he looked down at her and whispered, "You've done enough, now it's my turn." For days, the fleet hid within the wreckage fields near a dead star. They repaired what they could, refueled from asteroid ice, and prepared for one last fight. Rumors spread through the ships. Some said the princess was dying. Others said she was becoming something more. But everyone knew one thing. They would follow her and the human who saved her anywhere. When Serenia finally woke, the bridge went silent, her eyes opened slowly, glowing brighter than before. Arik leaned forward, relief softening his face. "You're awake," he said quietly. She nodded weakly, her voice soft. For now, her gaze fell on the holographic stars, and sadness filled her tone. "They're losing faith, Arik. The Dominion spreads lies faster than we can stop them." Arik crossed his arms. "Then we'll give them something stronger than lies." Serenia studied him. "You have a plan." He nodded. "The people don't need another speech, they need the truth." He turned to the comms officer. "Open a galaxy-wide channel." The officer hesitated. "Sir, that would expose our position." Arik's expression hardened. "Then let them come." As the broadcast went live, the image of Arik and Serenia appeared across millions of screens. From mining colonies to royal courts, from derelict ships to hidden resistance cells, everyone saw them. The human captain and the alien princess standing together, Arik spoke first, his voice strong. "This is Captain Arik Vale of Earth Command," he said, "and I speak not as a soldier, but as one who has seen too much death. The Dominion wants you to believe humanity is your enemy, but we bleed the same, we grieve the same, we dream of peace the same." He stepped aside, and Serenia raised her head, her voice calm but filled with fire. "I am Serenia of the Virellan Empire," she said. "He once saved me when he had every reason not to. That act showed me what true strength is. It is not in domination, it is in compassion, in mercy, in hope." Her words echoed through every receiver. The galaxy listened, silent and still. The Dominion tried to jam the signal, but it was too late. The message had already reached every world. Old enemies began to question their leaders. Soldiers laid down their weapons. Colonies rose in defiance, and across the stars, people whispered the same words again and again. The princess and the humans stand together. The galaxy remembers, but the Dominion was not finished. Their fleets appeared out of hyperspace within hours. Massive and endless, Arik turned to Serenia. "They're coming." She stood slowly, her strength returning, the glow in her eyes now blazing. "Then let's make them remember why they feared us," she said. The Sol vanguard turned to face the enemy head-on. Dozens of allied ships followed, their engines roaring to life. Arik stood at the center of the bridge, calm as the stars burned outside. He looked at Serenia, and for a moment time seemed to stop. "Ready?" he asked. She smiled faintly. "Always." The battle began. Explosions painted the void with fire and light. Missiles streaked across the darkness. Plasma waves clashed like storms. Human fighters dove between enemy cruisers. Virellan carriers unleashed shimmering energy bursts that tore through enemy shields. The entire galaxy seemed to tremble under their fury. Amid the chaos, Serenia placed her hands on the neural console. Her mind reached into the Empire's network, linking ships, unlocking old codes. The Dominion's command ships froze mid-flight, their systems hijacked. Her voice echoed through every comm. "Stand down, soldiers of the Empire. This war is over." One by one, the enemy ships stopped firing, drifting silently in surrender, but the cost was high. The feedback from the neural link overwhelmed her body. Arik rushed to her side, shouting her name. She smiled weakly, blood glimmering like silver on her lips. "I told you," she whispered. "It's my turn to save you." He shook his head, his voice breaking. "No. Don't you dare leave now." She reached out, touching his hand, her voice barely a whisper. "When the stars turn red, remember me." The energy around her surged, spreading through the fleet like a wave of light. Every ship powered up, every wounded system healed. Her consciousness flowed into the network, becoming one with the stars. Then the light faded, leaving silence behind. When the smoke cleared, the Dominion was gone. The war was over. The Sol vanguard floated among the wreckage, its hull scorched but intact. Arik stood at the bridge window. Staring at the red glowing horizon, he whispered softly, "You kept your promise." Outside, the stars shimmered brighter, as if answering him. From that day forward, the galaxy changed. Humans were no longer the forgotten race. The story of the human captain and the alien princess spread across worlds, a story of sacrifice, unity, and love that defied empires. And when the red stars rose again each year, people looked up and whispered her words. "When the stars turn red, I will return, because legends never die. They simply become the light that guides the next generation." And in that endless light, the galaxy remembered.